The blood of the dragon boils in my veins. The ancient dragons have awoken. Once mere memories, forgotten notes scratched into dusty tomes, they now soar across Volkor's smoking skies. With ferocity and flame, they sear a path through my enemies, a road that I alone dare to walk. Once manipulated from the shadows, the puppet has severed my strings. I shall not bow to the lies of my past, neither will I bow to the false promises of others' grand futures. I have my dragons, that is all I need, and that singular will to use them to fulfill my own burning desires. My destiny is painted in ash and blood. I will create my masterpiece for all to behold, and this time, no one will stand in my way. Today we will be looking at Dromai Ash Artist. If you don't know the fundamentals and general game mechanics, I strongly suggest watching the Learn to Play guides by LSS. Link will be in the description. Dromai was first introduced in the Flesh and Blood set Uprising back in June 2022. Dromai is an imperial illusionist able to conjure the legendary dragons of Wraith out of Aether and Ash. Let's have a look at her hero ability. Whenever you pitch a red card, create an Ash. If you've played a red card this turn, dragons you control have go again, while attacking. Pack your deck with many red color strip cards to make the most of Dromai's hero ability. Pitch red cards to create the Ash to craft her illusionary dragons. In simple terms, pitch red cards, create Ash, invoke dragons. And if you play the red card this turn, the dragons you control have go again while attacking. Firstly, what is this Ash we are creating? Ash mentions material. While Ash is under an object, that object has Phantasm. I will cover Phantasm shortly. Creating Ash is pivotal to Dromai's plan, as this material is required to invoke her dragon allies. Dragon allies do have a pitch cost, but also requires an Ash to be created prior to invoking it. Dromai's signature weapon is Storm of Sendakai. This two-handed scepter can only be wielded by draconic illusionists such as Dromai. It mentions, dragon allies you control have once per turn action, 0 cost, attack. This scepter itself doesn't deal damage, but dragon allies you control on the board will attack at no cost, meaning you only need to pay the initial cost to invoke. Once you control it, it no longer has a cost to attack with it. As you journey with Dromai, you will have access to the Illusionist's draconic and generic card pool. To keep this guide as simple as possible, I will mainly focus on the cards from the Uprising set. There will be some exceptions. Let's now have a look at some budget illusionist and draconic equipment that can be used with this hero. Silent Stilettos is one of her notable equipment in the leg slot. For starters, this illusionist equipment has built-in Arcane Barrier 1. This will be extremely useful against hero that deals arcane damage, such as wizards, rune blades, and other illusionists. Secondly, it mentions whenever an attack an ally you control dies, or an attack action card you control is destroyed by Phantasm, you may pay 3 resources. If you do, destroy Silent Stilettos and gain 1 action point. Phantasm introduced in the Monarch set is a keyword that exists on illusionist attacks. Illusionist cards with Phantasm are powerful yet fragile. When an attack with Phantasm is defended by a 6 power or greater non-illusionist attack action card, the attack is destroyed and the combat chain closes. Since Ash is required to invoke dragon allies, all dragons will gain Phantasm. There are different ways to remove or deal with this downside. We will touch on this later. Next, let's look at Silken Form. Instant. Destroy Silken Form. Transform target Ash you control into Aether Ashwing. Ashwings are token dragon allies that attacks for 1 with 1 life. They also have Arcane Barrier 1. Secondly, this equipment also has Quell 1. If your hero would be dealt damage, you may pay 1 resource to prevent 1 of that damage. If you do, destroy Silken Form at the beginning of the end phase. This is great if you have to prevent multiple instances of 1 damage on 1 turn. But do note that when you use one of these abilities, this equipment will be destroyed. Sash of Sendakai is pretty straightforward. Instant. Destroy Sash of Sendakai. Gain 1 resource. Activate this ability only if you played a red card this turn. Dromai benefits by playing a lot of red cards, so this equipment makes it extremely usable. All illusionists use a base material mixed with aether to craft their fantastical creations. Dromai has mastered the talent of ash artistry, able to animate ash from her surrounding environment into fragile yet fearsome forms, none more than the legendary dragons of Volcor. Dragons, when inactive, are displayed on their invocation side, where the cost, pitch, and block value is displayed. Once the ash is used, you can now flip to transform and play your dragon ally. On its dragon side, its effect, attack power, and life total is displayed. Dromai can invoke many different dragons for many different situations, but I will only cover a few of them today. Since these are Draconic Illusionist invocation, they can only be played by Draconic Illusionist heroes such as Dromai. For the zero-cost dragons, let's first look at the Dragon of Engineering Chromai. Chromai is a 3-attack, 2-life dragon ally that says, once per turn, when Chromai attacks or leaves the arena, gain 1 action point. This is pretty useful if Chromai is destroyed by your opponent due to the ash giving it Phantasm. In the 1-cost category, we have the Dragon of Tactics, Miragai, or Miragi. I will be honest with everyone here, I don't know how to say his name, so for the rest of the video, I will be calling him Miragai. Miragai is a 2-attack, 4-life dragon ally that says, your first dragon attack each turn loses and can't gain Phantasm. Miragai is one of the ways you can deal with Phantasm on one of the dragons you wish to protect from Phantasm poppers. The 2-cost Dragon of Fertility, Uvia, is next. Uvia is a 1-attack and 6-life dragon that says, at the start of your turn, or when Uvia enters the arena, transform up to 1 ash you control into an Aether Ashwing. Transform your surplus ash into a small army of Ashwings. Uvia also being a 6-life dragon makes it a little awkward to deal with. Last rare dragon we will look at is the 3-cost, 4-attack, 7-life dragon of Decay, Necria. Whenever Necria deals or is dealt damage, put a -1 life counter on her, and create a Nash token. So contrary to Uvia, Necria can be a great ash creating engine if you can get her to stick around. Fables say that a draconic Aesir slumbers within the cradle of Mount Volcor, its heart pulsing, molten through the lava veins that span the Volcor landscape. Servants of the Draconic Aesir, Dracona Optimai, Tumulti, and Dominia, and servants of these servants dominated the skies of Wraith during the First Age. As these are legendary dragons and have game-changing mechanics, you may only have one of each in your deck. Dracona Optimai, the Dragon of Devastation, rewards you greatly from playing many red cards. Having the benefit of dealing arcane damage and significant physical damage will make your opponent think twice about leaving this one in the arena unchecked. Tumulti, the Dragon of Metallurgy, and my personal favorite, says, whenever Tumulti attacks a hero, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. If 1 or more red cards are revealed this way, put that many -1 defense counter on an equipment they control. Then if it has 0 defense, destroy it. Ever wish you could destroy one of your opponent's most powerful battle-worn equipment? Look no further, this bad boy will melt all their precious armor. Lastly, Dominia, legendary dragon of Dominion, says, whenever Dominia attacks a hero, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a red card, look at their hand and banish a card from it. Before we look at other cards, I would like to touch on a common mistake beginners make when invoking a dragon ally. If you pitch a red card to pay for the cost of the dragon, the ash that is created from that red card can't be used to invoke that specific dragon. When you play a card, you must first declare the targets of the card before you pay any resource costs. Only once the card is played and both players pass priority will the triggered effect of Dromai resolve and create an ash, which means that the ash simply doesn't exist before you need to target it to play the card. Dragons are great, of course, but Dromai also benefits using attack action cards to either produce ash, transform ash, ash wings, and or use as finishers. Sweeping Blow. When you attack with Sweeping Blow, create an ash token. Go again. Having natural go again and can create an ash. Sign me up! Billowing Mirage is another great natural go again staple, but instead of creating an ash, this can transform one ash you control into an Aether Ash Wing. Doombreaker Centipede also has go again, but do note this one has Phantasm. If your opponent does defend this with a non-illusionist attack action card with 6 or more attack power, when this is destroyed, it will create an ash token. Ember Moss Centipede has the same mechanic, but will usually be played as a chain finisher or on its own, as it doesn't have go again. Let's have a look at a few other great cards that rewards you by playing many red cards in your deck. Ravenous Rabble, an amazing common generic attack action card first printed in Arcane Rising, says, reveal the top card of your deck. Ravenous Rabble gets -X attack power, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. Go again. Since you are playing a large number of red cards in your deck, it is very likely to reward you by revealing a red card. Blaze Headlong. If you played another red card this turn, Blaze Headlong has go again. This only requires you to play a red card of any type this turn. Dromai also has access to other notable non-attack action and instant cards. Let's have a look at a few. Rake the Ambers, arguably one of the best non-attack action card in Dromai's arsenal, says, create an ash token. Then transform up to 3 ash you control into Aether Ash Wings. Go again. The number of ash you transform will be less for the other color pitch. This one is great, especially if you amass a large amount of ash. Sand Cover is an instant that can get you out of a tricky situation if you have an ash at your disposal. It says, target ash you control gains ward 4 until the end of turn, in red, 3 in yellow, and 2 in blue. By targeting one of your ash with this instant, you can prevent damage to be dealt to your hero for the amount specified on Sand Cover. Do note that your ash will then be destroyed once it's resolved. Introduced in the Dynasty set, Dust from the Golden Plains, Red Plains, and Shadow Crypts are Draconic Illusionist action ash and says, material. While this is under a permanent other than Thermai for the Golden Plains, Vincerikai for the Red Desert, and Necria for the Shadow Crypts, that permanent has Phantasm. Contrary to the Ash token, these become permanents in the arena under the player's control once resolved. If these Ash are transformed into a dragon, it is put underneath the dragon and it gains Phantasm, unless they are the specified dragons mentioned earlier. If the card on top of these are destroyed or otherwise removed from the arena, these are put into the owner's graveyard. Some cards called auras will present powerful bonuses and can be quite impactful if you can manage to keep them in play for several turns. Burn them all. Go again. Once per turn, when a dragon you control attacks, it deals 1 arcane damage to each opposing hero. At the beginning of your end phase, put a raise counter on Burn Them All, then destroy it unless you banish a red card from your graveyard for each raise counter on it. This one requires a little bit of patience to maximize its true power. Pitching this one early is typically a good plan, as it will usually benefit of having many red cards in your graveyard. All heroes have specific specialization cards that can only be played in their respective hero decks. For Dromai, these are Red Hot and Rise Up. Contrary to other heroes, Dromai shares her specialization cards with another draconic hero, Phi. I will only touch on Red Hot today, but you can check out the Phi Learn to Play video for Rise Up mechanics and gameplay. Red Hot, Rupture. If Red Hot is played as Chainlink 4 or higher, it has, when you attack with this, reveal the top X card of your deck, where X is the number of draconic chain links you control. Deal damage equal to the number of red cards revealed this way to any target, then shuffle. So let's say we fulfilled the rupture condition and played Red Hot as Chain Link 4, and 3 of those were Draconic Chain Links. And keep in mind, all of our dragons are actually Draconic. This means X is 3. We then reveal the top 3 cards of our library. In this instance, let's say we reveal 2 red cards out of the 3. This means Red Hot will be attacking for 4 physical damage and an extra 2 damage will be dealt. If you think Dromai is the type of hero you want to play, you will have access to higher quality equipment. There are a few options here, so I will only cover a few. Flame Scale Furnace is the legendary chest equipment that rewards you by pitching red cards. At instant speed, pay 1 resource and watch all of your red cards in your pitch zone turn into a resource machine. This can only be activated if you have played a red card this turn. It also has a robust unconditional block value of 2, meaning you can block 1 attack for 2 and on a later turn or other chain link, block again for 1, for a total of 3 block damage. But do note, being a temper equipment, Flame Scale Furnace will be destroyed once all the block value has been used. Phantasmal Footsteps, this legendary leg equipment is really great but less useful for Dromai. If an attack action card with Phantasm is popped by your opponent, you can pay a resource to gain an action point. The reason why this one is less relevant for Dromai is Dragon are Draconic Illusionist Dragon allies, not attack actions, therefore less frequently used. Secondly, you can also pay a resource to gain 1 defense until end of turn, but do note that if you use this to defend a non-illusionist attack with 6 or more attack power, Phantasmal Footsteps will be destroyed once the combat chain closes. The last 2 we're going to look at are a little bit more situational. Ghostly Touch. If you expect your opponent having a lot of Phantasm poppers, this one is a solid choice. Whenever an illusionist attack you control is destroyed by Phantasm, put a Hun counter on Ghostly Touch. It also says, once per turn action, remove a Hun counter from Ghostly Touch until end of turn. This becomes an illusionist ally with Phantasm, base power, and life equal to the number of Hun counter on it. And once per turn, action, for 3 resources, attack, go again. This one is great if you can get a large amount of Hun counters on it, and you're pretty sure that your opponent ran out of Phantasm poppers. Lastly, we have Crown of Reflection. If you plan to play multiple auras, this could be interesting, but this one will mainly utilize the Arcane Barrier one. Just a quick disclaimer, many heroes benefits from using generic legendary equipment, and Dromai is no exception, but we'll not be including these today. Alright, let's have a look at a few possible hands. Before we jump into this one, there are many different great lines of play for Dromai, and unfortunately I can't show everything here, but we'll still try to cover as much as possible. For this first example, let's keep it simple and create some Ash. Your 4 cards are Invoke Uvia, Burn Them All, Ember Moss Centipede Red, and Sweeping Blow Red. Let's start by playing Sweeping Blow. This one costs 1 resource, so we will be pitching Burn Them All. 2 Ash will be created here, one from the Sweeping Blow itself, and another from the red card pitched. Let's now use the once per turn Flame Scale Furnace instant, pitching Invoke Uvia. This will create an Ash. We gain 2 resources since we currently have 2 red cards in our pitch zone. Now we have enough resources to play our red Ember Moss Centipede, coming in for 8 attack power with Phantasm. Simple turn, but very effective. For the second example, we'll utilize the Ash we created last turn. Our cards are Invoke Miragai, Sweeping Blow Blue, Billowing Mirage Red, and Invoke Dracona Optimi. Firstly, play Red Billowing Mirage. This one costs 1 resource, so we will be pitching the blue Sweeping Blow. By attacking with this attack action, we can now transfer up to 1 Ash we control into an Ash Wing. Since we currently control 3 Ash, we will transform 1 here. Now let's invoke Miragai, using one of our floating resource. Another Ash we control will be used here. Since we have played a red card this turn, the dragons we control have go again while attacking. Let's attack now with McRae for 2. Don't forget, McRae says your first dragon attack each turn loses and can't gain Phantasm, meaning McRae currently can't be targeted by Phantasm poppers from your opponent. And lastly, let's attack with our Ashwing for 1. Then we end our turn, placing Dracona Optimi in our arsenal. Our third example, let's invoke our legendary dragon from arsenal. Let's pretend all of our dragons survived our opponent's turn. Our 4 cards are Billowing Mirage Blue, Invoke Dromai, Rake the Embers Blue, and Sweeping Blow Red. Firstly, let's invoke our legendary dragon Dracona Optimi from arsenal, pitching the blue Billowing Mirage and Rake the Embers. This will also use our last Ash. Since we still have McRae on the board, let's attack first with Dracona Optimi. This will protect him from Phantasm poppers. When Dracona Optimi attacks, we then reveal the top 3 cards of our deck. Let's say these are Burn Them All, Invoke Dromai, and Billowing Mirage Blue. Then this says deal arcane damage equal to twice the number of red cards revealed. Since we revealed 2, Dracona will deal 4 arcane damage and 6 physical damage. Since Dracona Optimi is a red card, our dragons now have go again while attacking. Let's now attack with McRae for 2. Now let's pretend our opponent decides to block with a non-illusionist 6 attack action card. This means McRae is then vanquished, Chain Link is now broken, and dragon loses go again. We unfortunately do not have enough resources to use the Silent Stilettos to gain an action point, so we will end our turn placing our red Sweeping Blow in arsenal. Last example, let's use Burn Them All, and a few concepts introduced earlier. Let's pretend our opponent defeated our dragons and we have none left on the board. Your cards are Burn Them All, Invoke Dromai, Billowing Mirage Blue, and Embrama Senepai Red. Firstly, let's play Burn Them All, at no cost. Next, let's play our Sweeping Blow from arsenal, pitching our blue Billowing Mirage. Sweeping Blow will create us an Ash, this one has go again as well. Now let's invoke Dromai, using up the Ash we created with Sweeping Blow. Then let's attack with Dromai. A couple of things will happen here. Firstly, Dromai gives us an action point when attacking or leaving the arena. I will mark this with a D6 placed on Dromai. Secondly, this will trigger our once per turn effect from the aura Burn Them All. When a dragon we control attacks, it deals 1 arcane damage to each opposing hero. Our opponent decides to take the 1 arcane damage and uses a non-illusionist 6 attack action card to block, destroying Dromai and losing go again. But don't forget, Dromai did give us an action point. With our action point, let's play our red Embrama Senepai with our 2 floating resources. At the beginning of our end phase, we need to look at our aura Burn Them All. It mentions, put a raise counter on Burn Them All, then destroy it unless you banish a red card from your graveyard for each raise counter on it. Right now we only have 1 raise counter, so we only need to banish 1 red card from our graveyard. We played a good number of reds, so we won't have a problem here. Let's banish Dromai. A tip for Burn Them All, sometimes it benefits to be pitched early and played it in a later cycle. You want to fill your graveyard with many red cards to make sure you can keep it around. To conclude, Dromai is definitely not the easiest hero to play, but will certainly reward you once mastered. Dromai's imagination is as boundless as her ambition. She's an Ash artist, and her visions will strike terror into the hearts of all who beholds them. This was Jackie for the Fab Workshop. See you next time, and thanks for watching.